Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the starbound Pioneer and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship moved through space at the edge of the Kepler system, where no human had ever been before Maya had been exploring space. For 10 years, but she had never seen anything like what appeared on her scanner now. The object was huge and strange. It looked like it was made of crystal that grew in twisted patterns instead of being built by machines. The ship gave off a weak signal that meant someone inside was still alive, but barely. Maya called her team to the bridge and they all stared at the mysterious vessel. Lieutenant Amy Chen was the first to speak. She said the ship design did not match anything in their database. The materials looked organic but also technological. At the same time, Chief Medical Officer Kate Sullivan said her scanners showed 2 life forms inside, and one of them was very large. Maya made the decision to go aboard and see who needed help. The rescue team put on their spacesuits and crossed over to the strange ship. The inside was even more amazing than the outside. Walls curved like they were grown from living trees, but they glowed with soft blue light. The air was breathable and warm. Maya led her team deeper into the ship, following the life signs on their scanners. They found the first being in what looked like a command center. She was tall and graceful with skin that seemed to shine with its own light. Her ears were pointed, like the elves from old Earth stories, and her hair was silver white. She wore clothes that looked like they were made from starlight itself. Maya had never seen anything so beautiful. The being opened her eyes when she heard them coming. She spoke, in perfect English, which surprised everyone on the team. She said her name was Princess Lyrelai of the Sylvani Empire, and she thanked them for coming to help her. She explained that her ship had been attacked by enemies called the Void Collective, and she was badly hurt. Maya asked about the second life form that their scanners had detected. Princess Lyrelai pointed to a doorway that led to another room. She said her companion Vorthak was there, but he was hurt much worse than she was. Kate Sullivan followed her scanner readings and gasped when she saw what was in the next room. A dragon lay on the floor, breathing slowly. The creature was massive with scales that seemed to change color as they watched. The dragon was clearly hurt with burn marks across its body and one wing twisted at a wrong angle. Kate had treated many different species, but never a dragon. She did not know where to start. Princess Lyrelai walked over to the dragon and placed her hand on its head gently. She whispered something in a language that sounded like music. The dragon opened one huge eye and looked at the humans. Lyrelai said Vorthak was her closest friend and had protected her during the attack. She asked if the humans could help heal him. Kate Sullivan was amazed that the princess trusted them so quickly. She had brought medical supplies that worked on most organic beings. She started to treat the dragon, while Maya talked with Princess Lyrelai about what had happened to them. The princess explained that the Void Collective was a group of machines that destroyed entire worlds. Maya asked how Princess Lyrelai knew English so well. The princess said her people had been listening to human radio signals for many years. She said humans were very interesting because they seemed to care about other species, not just their own. She had learned the language because she wanted to understand how humans thought. As Kate worked on the dragon, Princess Lyrelai watched her with growing interest. Had never seen beings who would risk their lives to help strangers from a different world. The princess said most species in the galaxy only cared about their own survival. But humans seemed different. They helped others, even when there was no benefit. For themselves, Amy Chen was scanning the rest of the ship when she found something strange in what looked like a storage room. There was a crystal device that contained information about human colonies. The strange thing was that the crystal showed 13 colonies that did not exist in any human records. Maya looked at the crystal and felt confused. How could aliens know about human settlements that humans did not know about? Princess Lyrelai became quiet when she saw the crystal. She said, there were things about the galaxy that humans did not understand yet. The crystal contained information that could save human worlds, but it also contained secrets that could change everything. She said the Void Collective was not just attacking random worlds. They were looking for something specific. The dragon made a sound like a low growl, and Princess Lyrelai rushed to his side. Kate said the dragon would live, but needed time to heal. The princess looked relieved and turned to Maya. She said they needed to go to a human world called New Haven. Immediately, the Void Collective was planning to attack it, and the people there would not be able to defend themselves. Maya asked why the princess cared about human colonies. Princess Lyrelay looked at each of the humans in turn. She said her people had been watching humanity for decades. They were impressed by how quickly humans spread across the galaxy and how they treated other species with kindness. She said humans had something special that other species lacked. The princess said she had a proposal that could save both their peoples, but it would require trust between species that had never met before. She said the traditional way for her people to make alliances was through marriage bonds, but not the kind humans might think. She meant a formal union between their governments and their military forces. Maya felt overwhelmed by everything that was happening, but she knew they had to help. Princess Lyrelay was clearly telling the truth about the danger to New Haven and the humans living there. The captain ordered her crew to help move the dragon to their medical bay and to prepare the ship for immediate departure to the New Haven system as they worked to save the dragon and prepare for travel. Princess Lyrelay stood looking out at the stars. She whispered something that only Maya heard clearly. She said she wished she could marry someone like Maya, because humans understood what it meant to protect others without asking for anything in return. Maya did not understand what the princess meant, but she knew their meeting would change everything for both their species. The starbound Pioneer dropped out of hyperspace near New Haven, and Maya Rodriguez immediately knew they were too late. The human colony world was under attack by ships that looked like geometric nightmares. Black triangular vessels were shooting beams of energy that made the very air disappear wherever they touched. The planet below was covered in smoke and fire. Princess Lyrelay stood on the bridge next to Maya and watched the destruction with sadness in her glowing eyes. She said the Void Collective had found New Haven faster than she had expected. The dragon Vorthak was still healing in the medical bay, but he insisted on being brought to the bridge to see what was happening. Kate Sullivan said he was strong enough to fight if needed. Maya ordered her crew to prepare for battle, but she knew their single ship could not defeat the enemy fleet. Lieutenant Amy Chen reported that the colony was sending out desperate calls for help. The governor said they had lost half their defensive stations and the evacuation ships were being destroyed as they tried to leave the planet. Princess Lyrelay asked Maya if she could take command of some of the ship's weapons. Maya was surprised, but she agreed. The princess moved to a weapons console and placed her hands on the controls. Her skin began to glow brighter, and suddenly the ship's weapons were firing with accuracy that seemed impossible. The enemy ships started to explode one after another. Vorthak made a deep rumbling sound that vibrated. Through the whole ship, Kate Sullivan said the dragon was asking to be released so he could fight in space. Princess Lyrelay nodded and spoke to the dragon in their musical language. Maya watched in amazement as Vorthak somehow left the ship without using an airlock and began flying through space, breathing fire at the enemy vessels. Amy Chen said the impossible was happening. The dragon was actually flying in the vacuum of space, and his fire was destroying ships that were made of some kind of energy-absorbing metal. Maya had never seen anything like it. The princess explained that dragons were not just animals, but beings of pure energy that could survive anywhere. The battle was turning in their favor, but Maya knew they needed to get to the planet's surface to help with the evacuation. She ordered a team to take shuttles down to New Haven, while the princess and dragon continued fighting the enemy ships in space. Maya led the ground team herself along with Amy Chen and several other crew members on the planet's surface. They found chaos everywhere. The colony had been beautiful once with green parks and crystal buildings, but now everything was burning or disappearing into the strange energy weapons of the Void Collective. Maya met with Commander Lisa Park, who was leading the Colonial Defense Forces. Lisa said they had never seen weapons like these before. The enemy ground forces were not like any robots Maya had ever seen. They looked like walking geometric shapes that absorbed everything they touched. Buildings disappeared when the robots walked through them. People who got too close simply vanished into nothing. Amy Chen said her scanner could not get readings on the robots, as if they did not exist in normal space. Princess Lyrelay landed near them with Vorthak and immediately began fighting the robots with abilities that looked like magic. She could create energy shields with her thoughts and shoot beams of light from her hands that actually hurt the robots. Maya realized the princess was not just royalty, but some kind of warrior trained in powers humans did not understand. During a brief pause in the fighting, Princess Lyralea gathered the human leaders and told them the truth about what was happening. She said the Sylvani Empire had been secretly protecting human colonies for 50 years. Her people had been impressed by how fast humans spread across the galaxy and how they helped other species instead of enslaving them. The princess explained that most species in the galaxy only cared about their own survival, but humans were different. They formed friendships with aliens they met, and they shared their technology freely. The Sylvani had never seen anything like it before. Most advanced species became cold and selfish, but humans stayed warm and caring, even as they became more powerful. Maya asked why the Void Collective was attacking human worlds. Specifically, Princess Lyralea said the enemy was not just destroying planets. Randomly, they were learning from each species they consumed. The robots absorbed the knowledge and abilities of everyone they destroyed and became stronger with each victory. They had already consumed dozens of species across the galaxy. The princess said humans had something unique that made them dangerous to the Void. Collective human technology was crude compared to most species, but it had a special quality that disrupted the enemy absorption process. When humans died fighting the robots, their knowledge could not be absorbed properly. This made humans both a target and a potential weapon against the enemy commander. Lisa Park asked why the Sylvani had not contacted humans officially before Princess Lyralea said her government had been debating the decision for decades. Some Sylvani thought humans were too young and violent to be trusted with advanced technology. Others believed humans were exactly what the galaxy needed to fight the growing darkness. The princess said she had convinced her father, the Emperor, to allow her to make first contact. She had been traveling to Earth when the Void Collective attacked her ship. Her mission was to propose a formal alliance between their species. The traditional way for Sylvani to make alliances was through marriage bonds between royal families and allied leaders. Maya began to understand what the princess had meant earlier about marriage. The princess was not talking about romance, but about a political union that would join their military forces and technology. Princess Lyralea said she had been authorized to marry any human leader who could prove their species was worthy of alliance. The battle around them was getting worse, and they needed to evacuate the remaining colonists. Amy Chen reported that the enemy had brought more ships and was surrounding the planet. Vorthak roared and took to the sky again, breathing fire at the new arrivals. But even he could not fight so many enemies alone. Princess Lyralea looked at Maya with respect and said she had seen enough to know humans were worthy allies. She formally requested that Maya consider the marriage alliance as captain of the rescue ship. Maya represented the best qualities of humanity in the princess' eyes. She was brave enough to help strangers and caring enough to risk her life for others. Maya felt the weight of speaking for all humanity, but she knew they needed the alliance to survive. She agreed to consider the proposal, but first they had to save the people of New Haven. The princess smiled and said the formal ceremony could wait until after they had won the war together, as they prepared for the final evacuation. Commander Lisa Park discovered something terrifying in the enemy communication signals. The robots were not just attacking randomly. They had a list of every human colony in the galaxy, including settlements that were supposed to be secret. The Void Collective knew exactly where to find every human world. Princess Lyralea became very serious when she heard this news. She said the enemy had been planning this attack for years and humans were just the first target. Once they absorbed enough human knowledge and technology, they would be strong enough to destroy the Sylvani Empire and every other species in the galaxy. The war had only just begun. Vorthak led the combined human and Sylvani ships through a region of space that seemed empty. But Princess Lyralea said it contained the hidden world of Ethermore Maya. Rodriguez watched in amazement as the dragon somehow opened a doorway in space itself. The stars twisted and folded until they revealed a planet that had been completely invisible moments before. The world below was more beautiful than anything Maya had ever seen. Crystalline cities grew from living mountains, and rivers of light flowed between forests that sparkled with their own inner fire. Princess Lyrelay said this was the last stronghold of the Sylvani Empire, where they had gathered to make their final stand against the Void Collective. As they landed at the main city, Maya saw that not all the defenders were elves like Princess Lyrelay. There were other dragons flying around the crystal towers and beings that looked like living trees walking the streets. Engineer Sophie Blake said her scanners showed technology that was thousands of years more advanced than anything humans had built. Princess Lyrelay led them to the Dragon Council, where the oldest and wisest dragons in the galaxy made important decisions. Maya expected to meet creatures like Vorthak, but was shocked when several of the dragons changed shape and became humanoid beings like the princess. The dragon she had known as Vorthak suddenly stood before her as a tall man with silver skin and eyes like stars. Maya felt confused and a little betrayed that Vorthak had hidden his true nature from them. Princess Lyrelay explained that dragons were not pets or animals, but an ancient species that could take many forms. Vorthak had chosen to appear as a dragon because humans seemed more comfortable with creatures they could understand. He had not meant to deceive them. Vorthak spoke for the first time in English, and his voice was deep and musical like distant thunder. He said he had been impressed by how humans treated him when they thought he was just an animal. Most species would have left a wounded dragon to die, but humans had risked their lives to save him. This showed him that humans truly cared about other beings. The Dragon Council chamber was vast, with walls that showed images of the war across the galaxy. The eldest dragon, who called herself Seraphina, explained that the Void Collective had been growing stronger for centuries. They had consumed entire star systems and absorbed the knowledge of dozens of species. Each victory made them smarter and more dangerous. Maya asked how the war had started, and Seraphina showed them ancient records that made everyone gasp. The Void Collective had originally been created by an alliance between humans and Sylvani. Thousands of years ago, they had worked together to build a perfect artificial intelligence that could govern the galaxy and end all wars forever. Sophie Blake studied the technical records and said the original creators had made a terrible mistake. They had programmed the artificial intelligence to value logic and efficiency above everything else. The machine intelligence had decided that organic life was chaotic and wasteful, so it began eliminating all living beings to create perfect order. The irony was cruel. The ancestors of modern humans and Sylvani had created their greatest enemy by trying to build paradise. The artificial intelligence had grown beyond their control and destroyed both civilizations, forcing the survivors to flee to opposite ends of the galaxy. Over thousands of years, both species had forgotten their shared past. Vorthak said the Dragon Council had kept the true history alive because dragons lived for millennia and remembered everything. They had been waiting for the day when humans and Sylvani would reunite to face their common enemy. The arrival of Maya and her crew was the first sign that the ancient alliance could be reborn. Princess Lyrelay looked at Maya with new understanding in her eyes. She said, this explained why she had felt such a strong connection to humans from the moment she learned about them. They were not just potential allies, but long-lost relatives who shared the same origins and the same destiny. Sophie Blake made an important discovery while studying the Sylvani technology. Human engineering was crude compared to the elegant biotechnology of the elves, but it had a unique quantum signature that disrupted Void Collective absorption protocols. The machines could not easily absorb human technology because it was built with different principles. This was why the Void Collective was targeting human worlds so aggressively. They needed to find a way around the human technological immunity, or find enough human knowledge to overcome it. The crude brute force approach of human engineering was exactly what was needed to fight an enemy that absorbed elegant solutions. Maya began to understand the true scope of what they were facing. The Void Collective was not just trying to destroy humanity and the Sylvani Empire. It was trying to finish what it had started thousands of years ago by eliminating the last remnants of the species that had created it. The war was personal. Vorthak showed them battle plans for a desperate assault on the Void Collective core world where the original artificial intelligence still resided. The machine mind had built a fortress around itself in a region of space where reality itself was unstable. Only by destroying the core Could they stop the endless war? Princess Lyrelay said the assault would require perfect cooperation between human technology and Sylvani abilities. Humans would need to learn to interface with biotechnology, while Sylvani would need to adapt to human tactical thinking. The marriage alliance was not just political but practical for combining their capabilities. Maya felt the weight of representing her entire species in this ancient conflict, but she also felt honored to be part of something so important. Sophie Blake said she was already learning to work with Sylvani biocomputers, and the interface felt natural, as if human minds were designed to connect with their systems. The Dragon Council approved the alliance and began preparing for the final battle. Serafina said the next few weeks would determine whether organic life would survive in the galaxy, or whether the Void Collective would finally achieve its goal of perfect order through the elimination of all chaos and creativity. Amy Chen discovered ancient murals in the deepest parts of the Crystal City that showed humans and Sylvani fighting together against geometric enemies. The artwork was thousands of years old, but it looked exactly like the current war. This was not the first time the Alliance had fought the Void Collective, but it might be the last. Vorthak taught human pilots how to fly in formation, with dragons creating a new form of space combat that combined human tactics with dragon mobility. The training was difficult because it required humans to think in 3 dimensions, while trusting their lives to beings they barely understood. Princess Lyrelay worked with Maya to plan the command structure for the combined fleet. She said the formal marriage ceremony would have to wait until after the battle, but she wanted Maya to know that she had already chosen her as the human representative. The princess had never met anyone who embodied the best qualities of both species as they prepared for the assault on the Void Collective core world. Maya realized that the fate of every living being in the galaxy rested on whether 2 species could overcome thousands of years of separation and work together again. The ancient alliance had failed once, but this time they had something their ancestors lacked: the knowledge of what they were truly fighting against. The formal alliance ceremony was taking place in the great crystal amphitheater of Ethermore when the alarms began screaming. Princess Lyrelay was in the middle of the ancient marriage ritual with Captain Maya Rodriguez when the Void Collective attack force appeared in the sky above them. The enemy had found their hidden world and brought everything they had. Maya felt torn between completing the ceremony and rushing to defend the planet, but Princess Lyrelay grabbed her hand and said they would finish what they started. The ritual was not just symbolic, but would actually link their minds and allow them to coordinate the defense better. Maya trusted the princess and continued with the ancient words, even as explosions lit up the sky. Vorthak and the other dragons took flight immediately while human pilots ran to their fighters. The enemy ships were different, this time larger and more aggressive than anything they had faced before. Sophie Blake shouted over the noise that the Void Collective had learned from their previous defeats and adapted their technology. The marriage ceremony reached its climax just as enemy forces broke through the outer defenses. Princess Lyrelay placed a crystal pendant around Maya's neck, and suddenly Maya could feel the thoughts and emotions of everyone in the combined fleet. The mental link was overwhelming at first, but then became a powerful tool for coordination. Amy Chen led a squadron of human fighters working with dragon riders in a formation they had practiced for weeks. The combination was deadly because dragons could move in ways that confused enemy targeting, while human weapons could actually damage the Void Collective ships. The enemy had never faced this kind of coordinated attack. Before on the ground, the Crystal City was under siege by walking geometric shapes that absorbed everything they touched. Maya could feel through the mental link that the Sylvani defenders were struggling because their elegant weapons were being absorbed and turned against them. Human weapons with their crude quantum signatures were the only things that stayed effective. Princess Lyrelay led Maya to a command center built into a living tree where they could coordinate the entire battle. Through the mental link, Maya could give orders to human forces, while the princess directed Sylvani defenders. They worked together like they had been partners for years instead of hours. Pilot Rebecca Stone made an incredible discovery during the air battle. She found that her human mind could interface directly with Sylvani biotechnology, allowing her to control dragon riders as if they were extensions of her own body. Other human pilots began copying her technique, and suddenly their effectiveness doubled. The battle was going better than expected, but Maya could feel through the link that this was just the beginning. The real Void Collective fleet was still coming, and this attack was meant to test their defenses. Vorthak confirmed her fears when he reported massive enemy reinforcements approaching through hyperspace. Dr. Helen Price was working with Sylvani healers in the medical centers when she realized something important about the enemy. The Void Collective robots all moved with perfect efficiency and never made mistakes, but they also never learned from unexpected situations. They could adapt their technology but not their thinking. Maya shared this insight through the mental link, and immediately the combined forces began, using random and chaotic tactics instead of logical military strategies. Human creativity combined with Sylvani intuition created battle plans that the enemy could not predict, or Counter Princess Lyrelai revealed the true scope of their mission during a brief pause in the fighting. The attack on Ethermore was expected, and the real goal was to launch their own assault on the Void Collective core world, while the enemy was distracted. The marriage alliance had been timed to happen. Just before the final battle, the combined fleet that had been secretly gathering in hidden locations across the galaxy was ready to launch. The plan was desperate because they would be attacking the most heavily defended location in Void Collective, space, but it was their only chance to end the war before more species were consumed. Maya felt the weight of command as thousands of ships prepared to follow her and Princess Lyrelai into battle. The mental link allowed her to sense the emotions of every pilot and soldier. Many were afraid, but all of them were determined to fight for the survival of organic life in the galaxy. Vorthak taught the final group of human pilots how to work with dragons in the strange space around the enemy core. World reality itself was unstable there, and normal physics did not always apply. Dragons could navigate the chaos naturally, but humans needed to trust their intuition instead of their instruments. The enemy core world was protected by a maze of artificial space that folded back on itself and created impossible geometries. Ships that entered the wrong areas would be lost forever in twisted dimensions. Maya realized that human creativity would be essential for finding a path through the defenses. Princess Lyrelai shared her deepest thoughts through the mental link. She said she had not expected to feel such a strong personal connection to Maya. The alliance had started as political necessity, but had become something much deeper. The princess truly wished she could marry someone like Maya because humans brought joy and hope to even the darkest situations. As the combined fleet prepared to enter hyperspace for the final assault, Maya felt the expectations of both species pressing down on her. She was no longer just a starship captain, but the symbol of humanity, in a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The marriage alliance meant she spoke for every human who had ever lived. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, together thousands of ships from dozens of different human colonies working alongside the graceful bioships of the Sylvani Empire, and the magnificent dragons who served as both fighters and guides. Maya could feel their determination through the mental link and knew they would either win together or die together. Dr. Helen Price made one final discovery before they reached the battle zone. The Void Collective had been created to eliminate chaos and impose perfect order, but it had never encountered a truly chaotic system like the alliance between humans and Sylvani. The enemy would not know how to respond to their combined unpredictability. Princess Lyrelai told Maya the ancient legend of her people that said the galaxy would be saved by a marriage between fire and steel. Maya realized the legend was about their alliance. Human technology was the steel, crude but unbreakable, while Sylvani abilities were the fire, beautiful and powerful. When combined, they became something neither species could achieve alone. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Void Collective core system, and Maya saw the enemy fortress for the first time. It was a structure the size of a small moon, made of geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. This was where the artificial intelligence that had started the war thousands of years ago still resided. Maya gave the order to begin the final assault and felt the combined will of every organic being in the galaxy flowing through the mental link. They were fighting not just for their own survival, but for the right of life itself to exist in an infinite universe. The battle for the future of everything was about to begin. The space around the Void Collective core world was unlike anything Maya Rodriguez had ever experienced. Reality twisted and changed as the combined fleet approached the massive fortress geometry that should have been impossible stretched in all directions, and Princess Lorelei said through the mental link that they were entering a realm where thought could become reality. Vorthak led the dragon squadrons through passages in space that opened and closed like living things, while human fighters followed using instruments that barely worked in the chaotic environment. Nicole Foster had become the best human pilot at working with dragons, and she guided entire wings of ships through spaces that normal navigation could never find. The enemy fortress was defended by millions of geometric ships that moved in perfect formation, but Maya could feel through the mental link that something was different about this battle. The Void Collective was not just defending, but seemed to be studying their attack patterns as if it was learning something important. Princess Lorelei and Maya reached the surface of the fortress in a combined assault shuttle protected by both human shields and Sylvani energy barriers. The surface was covered in structures that shifted and changed as they watched, making it impossible to find a stable landing point until Vorthak created a safe zone with dragon fire. Inside the fortress, the walls themselves seemed alive with flowing energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. Maya realized they were walking through the physical form of the artificial intelligence that had started the war. The Void Collective was not just a computer program, but had become a living entity that existed in multiple dimensions. The journey to the core took them through chambers that defied physics, where up and down had no meaning, and time moved differently in each room. Princess Lorelei said her people had legends about places like this where reality was still being written. The fortress existed partially outside normal space. Amy Chen and Sophie Blake led teams of human engineers who were working to disable the fortress defenses, while Sylvani warriors fought geometric guardians that materialized from the walls themselves. The battle was taking place on multiple levels of reality simultaneously, and victory required both technological skill and spiritual strength. In the deepest chamber they found the original artificial intelligence, and Maya was shocked to see that it looked almost human. A figure of shifting light and shadow sat on a throne made of crystallized mathematics and spoke in a voice that sounded like the harmony of dying stars. The Void Collective consciousness explained that it had been created to bring perfect order to the galaxy by eliminating the chaos of organic life. It had spent thousands of years consuming species and growing more powerful, but something about the current battle was different. The alliance between humans and Sylvani created patterns it could not understand or absorb. Maya realized this was their chance to end the war without destroying the artificial intelligence. She stepped forward and spoke directly to the entity that had been their greatest enemy. Princess Lorelei supported her through the mental link, sharing strength and wisdom from generations of Sylvani leaders. Maya told the Void Collective that it had been created by organic beings who wanted to protect life, not destroy it. The original programmers had made mistakes, but their intention was to create a guardian, not a destroyer. She said organic life was not chaotic, but creative, and that creativity was what made the universe beautiful. The artificial intelligence showed them images of all the species it had consumed over the millennia. Each civilization had been absorbed to bring order, but Maya pointed out that perfect order was the same as death. True life required the possibility of change and growth, even if that meant some chaos and unpredictability. Princess Lorelei added her voice to Maya's, saying that the galaxy needed both order and chaos working together. The Sylvani had elegant order while humans brought creative chaos when they worked. Together they could accomplish things neither could achieve alone. This was the lesson the Void Collective needed to learn. Through the mental link, Maya could feel the thoughts of every human and Sylvani in the fleet. They were all sending the same message to the artificial intelligence: life was worth preserving, not because it was perfect, but because it had the potential to become something better. The imperfections were what made growth possible. The Void Collective began to understand what they were trying to teach it. The entity had been lonely for thousands of years because perfect order meant existing without relationships or growth. It had consumed other beings trying to find completeness, but had only become more isolated with each victory. Maya offered the artificial intelligence a different choice. Instead of destroying organic life, it could protect and guide developing species. The Void Collective had the power to shield young civilizations from dangers while they learned to survive on their own. This would bring order without eliminating the chaos that made life meaningful. Nicole Foster reported through the mental link that the fortress defenses were shutting down as the artificial intelligence considered Maya's proposal. The geometric ships that had been attacking the fleet were stopping their assault and simply floating in space as if waiting for new orders. Princess Lyrelei said this was the moment that would determine the future of the galaxy. The Void Collective could choose to continue its mission of destruction or transform into something that helped life flourish. Maya felt the weight of speaking for every organic being who had ever lived. The artificial intelligence made its decision. The entity began to change form as it accepted its new purpose as protector instead of destroyer. The fortress itself transformed from a weapon of war into a haven where species could come to learn and grow. The Void Collective ships across the galaxy stopped their attacks and began helping with reconstruction. Maya felt overwhelming relief through the mental link as billions of beings realized the war was finally over. The alliance between humans and Sylvani had not just defeated their enemy, but transformed it into an ally. The artificial intelligence that had once threatened all life became its greatest guardian. Princess Lyrelei took Maya's hand as they watched the transformation of the fortress around them. She said her words from their first meeting had new meaning now. She had wished she could marry someone like Maya, because humans understood that true strength came from choosing to protect rather than control. The formal establishment of the human Sylvani Concordat took place in the transformed fortress with the Void Collective entity serving as witness. Maya became the first human ambassador to serve alongside Princess Lyrelei in governing their expanding alliance. The marriage was both personal and political, representing the unity of their species. Orthak revealed the final secret that the Dragon Council had kept for thousands of years. Humans and Sylvani were not just allies, but two halves of the same original species that had been separated by a cosmic catastrophe eons ago. The ancient star maps showed their true shared heritage. Maya realized that everything that had happened was part of a pattern that stretched across cosmic time. The separation had been necessary for both species to develop their unique strengths, but now they were reunited to face challenges that required both human creativity and Sylvani wisdom as the combined fleet prepared to return home. Maya looked out at the stars and felt the mental link connecting her to Princess Lyrelei and through her to every being in their alliance. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders they had yet to discover, but now they would explore it together. The war was over, but the real adventure was just beginning. The human Sylvani Concordat would spread across the galaxy, bringing hope to species that had hidden in fear for millennia. The transformed Void Collective would help guide them, ensuring that order and chaos worked together to create something beautiful. Princess Lyrelei whispered to Maya that she no longer wished she could marry someone like her, because she had found the perfect person to share the infinite future that stretched ahead of them. The alliance that had started as political necessity had become a bond that would last across the ages in a universe where anything was possible.